Hi, my name is Lynn Salyer. I was born in July of 1967 and grew up in a wonderful Christian home. When I was 5 years old, I attended a Good News Club at Mrs. Mazur's home, our neighbor, and she talked about the good news of Jesus and salvation, and I realized at that point that I didn't know for sure that I was going to heaven. I asked Jesus to come into my heart, forgive me my sins, and from that moment on, I knew that I was promised a home in heaven. Through all my careers and ministries, as I go through my adult life, I've been able to see God's hand in all of it, and I think back to all the twists and turns that happen in adult life, and I'm just so thankful that through all of those times and the times I fail Him, He doesn't give up on me, and He consistently is there guiding me so that I don't fall too far from His will. And that is such a great promise to me, especially in my older years, knowing that I can't get too far away from Him. In early 2017, I had started not feeling very well. And I had gone to several doctors who had tried to figure out what was wrong, and nobody could do that. So finally I ended up back at my family doctor, who ran some tests. And on March 1st of that year, I was sitting across from her, and she finally had to tell me that my diagnosis was ovarian stage 3C cancer. 2 weeks later, I found myself at Cleveland Clinic having major surgery. They had to remove 15 malignant tumors, as well as do a full hysterectomy. They removed my appendix, spleen, and some of my bowel. And I remember later laying in my hospital room and seeing my family all around me. They were all asleep. It was at that time that I could sense God's complete peace in my heart. And it was also that time that He reminded me He is not surprised, and He had me. When I was at home recovering from surgery, I would lay in my bed and I would rest, and I would rest in God's peace. And then all of a sudden I would realize that I'm having these feelings that were sad and afraid, and I would see my kids and I would just think, I don't want to leave them, and I'm not ready to do that. And that was very hard for me to process as I went through it all. But it was also through that I realized God wants me to see that me just getting up and saying to people, I have faith, is very different than me demonstrating it, especially during this devastating time in my life. And I'm so thankful that I was able to go through that process of 18 weeks of hard chemo that would make me realize faith is not faith until it's demonstrated. September 5th, 2017, we were given the amazing news that my scan came back clear. And we had a great time of rejoicing and seeing what God had done in my life and in my healing. I told God that I would not turn down an opportunity He brought my way, so I was able to speak at some ladies' functions. I wrote 2 books, all regarding my journey and anything else that came around. And I realized through that it's just so humbling to be able to share God's story through my journey. And it's really about Him, and it's really His story anyway, not mine. So last summer, on June 12th, we were told that cancer had returned, and this time in my lymph nodes. This pushed me to stage 4, and now I know that I'm going to have chemo for the rest of my life in some form. And as hard and as difficult as this has been, I've also been able to see more and more that God's plan is to be able to show me, even through my brokenness, that He's really here to restore my relationship with Him. And I've seen that time and time again. And this church and the prayers that come from you have really gotten me to where I am now. And I have a class on Wednesday nights, even in the times when I physically can't get to class. They Facebook me live and link me in, and I feel like I'm still a big part of that. And I can't say what an encouragement that has been to me. And I really feel like it's a big part of why I am where I am right now. I have learned, especially through this season of my life, to find joy, even in the darkest days, and to really find joy versus happiness, because there's a big difference. And in that joy, God has shown me that no matter if He heals when I think it's the time or not, God is God. And He has shown me that I need to lean on His hope and not my own. And I've learned to live each day as an extra day, because it is. And in those extra days, live out a passage that has really come to mean a lot to me, Hebrews 6, verses 18 and 19, which God tells us that we can rely on 2 things that aren't going to change. And one is that He is not going to lie, and He is our hope. And we need to find encouragement in that hope and know that our hope is an anchor that is both sure and steadfast.